Hello there, my name's Matt and I am on Pennard Hill, currently exploring some of the combes upon Pennard Hill at West Pennard. Started at St Nicholas Church and had a little mooch around in the churchyard there. Come to explore some of the combes further up onto the hill. I've made my way down a holloway that I visited before and come specifically to see that tree in the background there. That's an awesome sweet chestnut tree with a 5+ metre girth. It was probably it shows the signs of being pollarded, so cut above head height and then used for timber, sweet chestnut wood. The holloway goes all the way down a farmhouse. I'm not going to go down there, and on the other side I'm going to take us for a little walk through. It's such a cool woodland, there's so many points of interest that I think it deserves its own little tree walk. First tree that we come to, this one here with the ivy around it. If we look up, we can see cones and we can see no needles, which suggests a larch. We can confirm that on the ground here. Got plenty of larch cones and fallen larch needles deteriorating on the floor. That's larch being our only deciduous cone-bearing tree. See a vague pathway going through here. We're going to follow that through the hazel coppices, and this hazel coppice specifically is quite the specimen. Huge. It's a lapsed coppice. It has a couple of little sun seekers popping up through, which would grow on if the rest of it were to be removed, which is the sort of correct way to treat hazel and help it to live longer. All of these branches are too big and the nuts are right on the end, so they're no good for harvesting or anything like that. All of these branches will eventually fall off. They'll coppice themselves. You can see a lot of the hazels through here. This is an old hazel coppice here that's completely fallen over. They tend to eventually coppice themselves, but look at the doorway it's creating. So a lovely inviting doorway that will wander through, to be presented with our next tree, which is, most people will know this already from this bark pattern, silver birch. But to see a silver birch of this sort of size, this is getting on for 1 metre in girth, probably more than 1 metre actually, is quite surprising. Birch trees are a pioneer tree, so they can be trees that occupy a space of bare land and then will fall over to mature woodland, and here we get mature woodland of ash. So there's an ash tree next door, and the birch tree is in fact as tall as the ash tree next door. It's quite incredible. Look at the difference here, birch and ash. And then this branch you can see here with the marcescent leaves, that is leaves that still hang on the branches in the winter time even though they're brown, is the branch of this tree. So this tree is being nurtured into existence. This is perfect birch activity. The nurturing lady birch tree likes to aid other trees into existence, and in this case she's helping a beech tree, a young beech tree that's been heavily either squirrel damaged, maybe squirrel or deer, but it's up top as well, so probably squirrel. And we can tell that's beech not only from the smooth bark. Lots of trees have a smooth bark like that as a young tree, but from the branches here, from the behaviour of the marcescent leaves, but from the pattern of the buds, alternate on the twig and then pointed and protruding buds. So, perfect little love affair going on there, if only the beech tree hadn't been nibbled by the squirrels. So we'll follow the vague pathway through here. You can see all over the floor green sprouts. This is the first emergence of the bluebell woodland that this will be come April and May. The landscape in here is quite interesting. There's what seems to be a tip up here. People are tipping organic matter. Tons of fungus everywhere, and this seems to be a holloway that leads down through in this way, so an old trackway that's now covered over by woodland. But you can see how apparent that is here. Bank on this side, bank on that side, and a hollow in the middle. And we'll follow this down. These trees here can throw us off very easily, especially considering that their canopies are way up there. So we're going on the bark texture alone, and it's a very distinctive bark texture once you know what you're looking at. The language of this bark is very distinctive. There's some more of it over here and here. The clue is in the canopy. There are catkins hanging up there, big fat catkins. And then there's the odd remnant branch down here that includes some lovely lilac buds. And that would be older trees. It's a collection of older trees through here. And oh look, I love doing little off-the-cuff tree walks like this, because you never know what you're going to find. Look what we found: ruby, scarlet jewels in amongst the mulch. This is scarlet elf cup, and my favourite fungus, scarlet elf cup. You can find them often in and around hazel coppices, and the bluebells continue all the way through here. I can't wait to come back and explore this little spot in the spring. I've been here a few times, but mainly when it's been completely overgrown in the summertime, so I've not been able to explore properly, and I've not got the proper gist for the lay of the land, the humps and the banks that are going on in here. There's also seems to be a number of springs emerging. So which way? Let's go this way. Normally alder appears where there's water, and I wonder whether there's a waterway through here. There's certainly alder lining on both sides. More scarlet elf cups all the way through. It's a field of scarlet elf cups. Other trees start to emerge through here as well. Obviously there's plenty of ash, and that's what you can hear a lot of cracking up above. About 5 meters from me earlier on, so I'm quite wary of that business going on up there. There's some roaring winds up there, some roaring winds. Lost my way a little bit. Let's go. And the ash has the issue of ash dieback, which is causing their branches to be brittle. So there's wood all over the floor down here. This is all ash branches falling off. Terrible shame. And so here's the end holloway, or what might have been a waterway through here, or both. Oh, look what I've spotted. That's a very large scarlet elf cup. Or elf cup. I know there are different types of red elf cup, so let's call it an elf cup for now. Wow, I've never seen one that big. I always see them tiny, like the size of my thumb, but look, that's huge. It's really huge. The texture's funny. They're like plastic, rubbery kind of plastic texture. The ferns. It's a rainforest in here, and I think it's kind of untouched to some extent. There's remnants of old farm bits and pieces everywhere, and some human activity. There's a fallen something, might be sweet chestnut, and look at what's happened to the end of the trunk here. It's got tramates, or turkey tail type mushroom. Might not be turkey tail. Do your research on that. I'm not a forager. I've got my notebook with me, and I'm going to offer a poem at the end of this little walk. Let's take you up here. More scarlet elf cups, tiny ones. And then it starts to get very soggy through here. which suggests, along with these type of grasses, that we're stood downstream, that there's a spring up here somewhere. Let's see if we can, flowing water, you can see flowing water emerging from the earth, directly out of the earth, and it's warm. Say warm, it's not freezing. Yeah, so all up through here, water is emerging. This is another older here, and this is what I mean by the lilac buds. Lilac buds alternately placed on the stems, and this very distinctive bark, once you know what you're looking for, almost peely bark. Yeah, lots more spring emergences up through here. I've got my note at the end of this walk. Not quite sure when this walk will end. It's kind of a magical mystery tour at the moment, isn't it? Another very large elf cup. I also saw over here some very large wood ear fungus, like the size of my palm. I might post a video of those also later on. And here is another holloway running all the way through. This is a bank, and there's a ditch up on that bank that might have been a watercourse. It might be guidance for field runoff, but it's a very pronounced bank all the way up there. Up top there you can see vaguely some sweet chestnut coppices in through here, multi-stemmed sweet chestnuts that have regrown from a stump. There are sweet chestnuts dotted throughout this woodland that may be the child of the that we saw at the start of the video. I continue to run into baby beech trees as I come through, and it's all very squelchy underfoot as well, which is saying that we have springs here too. Unsurprisingly, up on these mounds we have something here. It was a tree here, stump, you can see deteriorated stump. All the way along here is a dark ridge of what is now mulch, but what would have been a fallen tree. And look what's happened to it. It's completely deteriorated and turned into soil. It would have had badger and all sorts of creatures feeding from it, feeding from the bugs, and it's completely deteriorated into the ground now, to the extent that you can only see a dark tree shape. That's been a nice off-the-cuff tree walk into some unknown territory. How exciting. Thanks for joining me. I will offer a poem before I go. This is a new poem written this weekend, and it's about buds bursting, or more specifically it's about wondering upon how it feels when a bud bursts. How does it feel to burst a bud? Does it feel as tender as the skin beneath your fingernails? Perhaps the pleasure found in the height of a sneeze, or maybe the glee found in popping a spot on your cheek. Does it feel like the gentle stroke of a lover, or the swift stab of a dagger, or perhaps even the contented warmth following a hug from your grandmother? I wonder if it sits somewhere halfway between pain and pleasure, like a finger poked into your belly button. Quite uncomfortable, yet strangely satisfying. Does it burn like nettle or hum like bee? Is it raw like a grazed knee? Or is it a feeling a human might never know entirely? Felt by a sense unknown by bodies of bone, like nothing a creature of blood can feel, found only in the flow of green life, and as foreign to me as a muscular ache might be to the heart of a tree. How does it feel to burst a bud? Quite enjoying that poem. I wonder what you think about that and how it might feel to burst a bud. So yes, thanks for joining me for this tree walk upon Pennard Hill. There are tree walks planned for March, April and May. The dates are all onto thetrees.co.uk. They're also pinned to the top of my Facebook profile. Don't hesitate to book onto one of those. I hope to see you in the springtime for some lovely tree walkings, poetry, tree identification, and some lovely singing to Grandmother Lime. For now, all the best. Have a lovely day and week. Much love.